French boat builder Prestige are well known for producing good looking but also great value craft, and this is their very latest F4.3 model. Now, for those of you who know the brand well, they've recently done a new range of these Flybridge craft, and by calling them F4.3 and F5.7, that's the indicator that it is the new generation. And this is the very first time we have seen the 4.3. Now, to be completely honest with you, it started life as the Prestige 420, and they've used the same hull moulding to create this boat, but the top half is completely different. They have totally transformed the way it looks inside, and completely different layout as well as finishes. So let's start with the stern here and get going, and I'll explain exactly what those differences are, and you can see for yourself how exciting it is. Now, prices for this boat start at 690,000 euros ex VAT. Obviously, that is still a substantial amount of money, but relatively speaking, for what you get, it is pretty exceptional. Now, that starts at the stern here. We've got a completely new back end. You can see we've got a full Iroko deck on this hydraulic stern platform, making it very easy to lift a tender in and out of the water. But also, if you've ever had one, it's so much nicer when you're just going for a swim to be able to paddle up onto the platform and then stand up without having to bother too much with tall bathing ladders, etc. Now, we've got some interesting things going on here. There's a really big storage area under here, and this is really useful actually. Increasingly, more and more people like to have paddle boards and the like, and this is sprung, so you just literally have to twist those latches and open it up. But you can see a really big storage area in there. You can keep anything from folding bicycles to blow up paddle boards, all that kind of kit. You can even have a small roll up tender if you want to, but obviously if you've got the hydraulic platform, why would you bother? Just keep it on that. I'm just going to close that to keep things a little bit tidier. There we go, simple as that. And then another big innovation is we've got a full wet bar on the stern here. I think this is a really nice place to have it. Obviously, when you're anchored up, if it's a nice calm bay, it's perfect. You've got easy access to everything you need. You've got a nice little sink there. You've got a grill. The other benefit of having the grill at the stern of the boat is that normally the breeze is blowing this way, so it carries away any cooking smells out into the sea. But what could be nicer than having your feet in the warm sea and sit here cooking yourself a few freshly caught prawns or fish. Good to see that there's a grab rail all the way around there too, and a little lighting, so even in the evening you can carry on with your barbecuing duties. Now step up into the cockpit, and a very nice big social arrangement here. You can see we've got a good wrap of seating with good extensions either end, so perfectly comfortable to fit on all three sides of that. Big table, obviously that expands when you want it to. Quite nice to have these fixed grab rails as well as bottle holders there, but you can see you can fold it all out and then you can fit plenty of people around it. But this is where things start to get really interesting, because we've got a completely new galley set up here. We'll take a proper look at that in just a second, but I wanted to show you briefly because you can see there is a big lift up window here. Now that actually opens from inside, but I'll show you how that's done in a minute. Let's do a quick tour of the decks first. Pretty generous wide side decks actually, and you can see quite a decent depth in there, so it feels nice and safe moving along it. There's a little bit of a flare to these guardrails, gives you a bit more room for your hips when you're walking along, but nice and safe to move up around here. Decent height to them too, and a really good foredeck area here. So got triple sunbeds, they have got prop-up cushions. Again, it's a very small thing and it's quite a basic, simple manual operation, but it's so much more comfortable. If you want to lie there and read a book, it's much nicer to have a prop-up backrest like that. Now, this has always been a distinctive Prestige design for a while, this slightly squared off bow area, and that just creates a wider space to work on. A flatter deck means it's easier when you are operating the anchor. Got quite a swish one here. It's a nice stainless steel Lumar anchor and one of these clever swivels, and that just means when the anchor pulls up on the electronic windlass, it self-corrects and means it always comes up in the right direction. It's just that clever little osculati swivel in there always means when it comes over the lip, it comes in the right way round. Full walk around deck. You can see we've got the Flybridge up here. We'll take a look at that in just a second. Should point out there's some nice little lighting features along here, just to light your way as you go when the sunlight drops. Here are some of the electronic controls. Now I wanted to point these out because we've got the hydraulic platform there, and this one here are switches for a awning extension. So mounted up here, if I press one of those buttons, you can see it start to wind out. But that is a full awning that comes all the way back and provides a great deal more shade. If the sun is behind the boat, it means you can shade this whole area. It also gives you privacy, because unlike some which come out at a 90-degree angle, this one comes down at quite a sharp angle, and that just provides a bit of screening when you're moored stern to in the Mediterranean. So let's have a quick look up at the Flybridge while we're here. Nice deep steps. It is a relatively steep ascent, but because they're nice and deep, it makes it fairly easy to get up, and you've got a good handhold as you go. Another one on this side. Up onto the Flybridge. And this is considerably bigger than it was in the 420, and they've achieved that by making it a little bit longer, but most importantly of all, they have flared it out over the side deck. So you can see just at this point here, it starts to flare out and create more width in this stern area, particularly on this side, where you can see the seating pushes all the way out to the full beam of the boat. And that creates a really nice big seating area up here. You can see we've got another substantial table. I'll just fold that out for you so you can get some idea. But look at that, for a 42-foot boat, that's a really big outdoor dining area. The other clever thing they've done here is actually install the fridge in the base of the table. So you can see you've got a good little drinks fridge in that base of the table. Could easily be wasted space. This way, they've made sure they've used it. A couple of small, nice details down here. A little bit of extra teak, bottle holders, drinks holders. Got the radar arch behind. That is quite low, that radar, but it's pretty much at head height. So when you're running along, you probably want to make sure that people are seating out the way of that, just to ensure you get a good clear view. But don't worry about radar signals being sent out. It doesn't fry your brain or anything like that some people talk about. So we've got a nice helm position here. Nice to see. So we've got some sunbathing space here, or you can sit on the side. It just means you can have a bit of company when you're driving the boat from up here. You can have people sitting around, and it creates a nice sociable environment. Got a forward-facing windscreen in here. That should help direct it up and over. So even though it's not as tall as the helm position, it should mean that it deflects it up and over, and hopefully you don't get too much of the apparent breeze in your face. Really comfortable single helm position. Lots of good support. Bolster cushion. Oh, that's quite a stiff one, but you can see you can give yourself a bit of extra height if you want it, or tuck yourself well down into that bucket and have really good, comfortable support. We've got an angle adjustable steering wheel. Now it is conventional Volvo drives. See, we've got the usual Volvo throttles there. We've also got a joystick. And even though this is not an IPS pod drive, that will link up with this bow thruster and the steering and the throttles and take care of all that for you. So even though it's a shaft drive boat, you should still have pretty good control just using the joystick. We found that it's not quite as effective as a full IPS system where the actual pods themselves steer, but still makes it pretty easy for berthing the boat. We've also got automatic zip wake trim tabs. So again, that should take care of all the running angle of the boat without you having to get too involved. Clear perspex covered for that, so you can just drop that down if you want to keep it safe when everybody's up here, and equally when you put the boat away in the evening. Now it's probably a little bit too steep to go down this way. You can just about do it actually, but I would always recommend spinning round, going down backwards. Just gives you a bit more confidence when you're coming down. So this big window here, you can see it is held up by a latch, and it's nicely sprung and supported, so you can just pull it down like that and you release it from inside. But when you want to open it up, literally just let it go. It will swing up on its own and click into place. But this is the big change. So we've got this ocean view galley, which creates a lovely little bar area here. There's just about enough room to have a couple of freestanding stools if you want to, but I think the idea is more just to have that connection with the outdoor dining space here. It means you can prop up the bar in traditional style and enjoy a little drink with your elbow leaning on the bar, chatting to here, but it's just having that view and that connection between the galley and the cockpit. Now, intriguingly, that means you've got doors on both sides of it. Of course, in the previous 420, the access was right through here, and then you had a galley area tucked in one corner. But this way, you've got a big opening through the window there and doors on both sides. So you still have a really nice flow through the boat. It's very easy to come and go into the saloon, but you enjoy that fabulous view, connection with the cockpit, but access both sides. Now, the galley, pretty well equipped. We've got a 2-ring Kenyan burner here rather than a 4-ring. But on a boat this size, where you're only sleeping 4 people at most, that's probably sufficient. We've got a single sink, but at least it's a decent size. Got a good oven there. We've got a fridge in here, small freezer up top, but good to see we've got a positive latch so you can keep it all locked away if things do get a little bit rock and rolly underway. Plenty of storage. And just a higher quality of finishing. Little things like this air conditioning vent could so easily just be a plastic moulding, but here we've got a rather smart little stainless steel surround to it. We've got storage for all the usual knives and forks and so on. And there's a bin under here. Now, one interesting thing to show you whilst we're here, there's actually dual access to the engines. We'll show you the other access in a minute, but rather intriguingly, if you lift that bin out, you can see there is a hatch in the floor here. You can lift that whole thing up. The base of that locker opens up too, and you've got access down. The reason for that is because it gives you very quick access to the electronics. You can go down that ladder and get to the engines too, but it's largely just to have quick access to those electronics if you need it. So good to see that they've put some real thought into the kind of practical accessibility part of the design, not just the way it looks. So gradually spin the camera around, you can see the rest of the saloon. And of course, by freeing up that space that was the sort of galley that would eat into space here, you end up with a larger seating area over here on the port side. So really long return on this side, decent amount of space around it. And the other big win, of course, is this, most people want to sit facing forward underway. And by having this long return here, you just get a couple of extra forward facing seats on this side of the dinette. Not quite a flat ceiling, there's a few sort of mouldings, but that does mean that when you come up, there's a little step here, if you note. And of course, you've got an equal cutout in the ceiling. So as you move up onto this slightly higher level, you still got plenty of headroom as you go. Helm position in the normal place on the starboard side, but just have a quick look at that seating around there. The other thing to note is you've got windows on both sides. So fairly simple manual window here, another manual window over on this side. And in combination with those 2 opening side doors and that ocean view galley, it does mean you get a really nice flow of fresh air through the boat. It also means if you're sat at the helm station, you do have a means of communication with other people on the quayside or doing the lines and fenders. Now, it's a kind of a 1.5 person seat. You could just about squeeze an extra bottom on there if you need to. If you're driving as a couple, you can just about get 2 people there. But most of the time, it's going to be the skipper who's in charge, driving the boat. Good, clear instrumentation, angle adjustable steering wheel. Now, the benefit of driving down here is that you've got this little extended plinth here for the throttle and the joystick. Just brings it a bit closer to whoever is driving the boat and gives a really nice natural driving position. It's not a huge amount of legroom here, but there's enough for me. I'm sort of 6 foot plus, but it means you can sit yourself down here. Everything is in nice, easy reach. All the throttles, natural length, good view out, got decent sized quarter lights here. There is a central bar in that windscreen, and there are reasonably wide mullions here, and quite a low ceiling height, but sat in the normal seating position, you've got a decent view forward, not too much obstruction, and of course you've got a really good view all the way around, particularly through that galley window. All the rest of the controls, nice to see we've got physical controls, so you're not reliant on screens for everything. Quite smart little soft touch switches for windscreen wipers, windscreen heaters, anchors. two decent Garmin screens and an old school compass, so you can always tell which direction you're heading. There are those zip weight controls. It's a quick chain counter for the anchor, and of course the Volvo Penta screen too. Right, dropping down into the accommodation section. Now, remember, this is only a 42-foot boat, so it only has two cabins, but it does mean you get two really good cabins. So this is the VIP forward. Impressively wide bed for a boat of this size. Because that beam is carried quite a long way forward, it doesn't impinge, you don't have tapering of the beds at either end. It is a properly good conventional sized bed, or just makes it easier for sheets and duvets and everything else apart from anything. Good size bow windows, opening section so you can get a bit of fresh air. Nice bit of detail here, we've got a bit of marble inset. Reading lights, fabric around the head of the bed. They don't pretend that they're absolutely top-notch, super high-end, but what they do give you is a really nice finish, really good light and good practical thinking. Quite stylish little latches for the lockers, decent hanging locker. More space in there. And then ensuite access to the bathroom. Now, I should point out that the second bathroom is optional, so you don't have to have this. I think nearly everyone will, because if you've got two good cabins, you want two good bathrooms. But you can see there is a separate shower and loo area. The loo is tucked in the corner there, but you have got a proper screen that pulls across, so you haven't got any clingy fabric curtains or anything like that, or a wet room where you end up getting wet feet just when you go in to brush your teeth. There is a separate shower compartment. Decent sized door, more storage behind there. And if you don't go for the bathroom, the alternative is to have a kind of utility room in here. And the benefit of that is that you can have a washer dryer and masses of storage for lots of other kit. But to be honest, I think unless you absolutely need the washer dryer, then the second bathroom is a really nice option to have. So I'm just going to spin around and show you what it looks like from here. So that's the companionway coming down from the saloon, and then you turn around this corner into the master cabin. And this is the real surprise on this boat, because to have a 42-foot boat with a full beam master cabin amidships is pretty special. So we've got good size hull windows, really decent bed. Now, there's not full standing headroom above the bed or on that side. There is on this side. So if you can see, there's a cutout in the ceiling, and that means I can step up along here, and it's just about, I'm just touching, but pretty much standing headroom here. Another good hull window here. Lots of storage all the way around. Quite a neat little vanity unit here that just pops up so you can sit on the bed, do your makeup. Storage under there, and in these bedside tables. On this side, you can see that the deck head height does drop, so you have to crouch down as you come around here. But again, there is plenty of seating room, or seating headroom, should I say. More storage all the way around the bed here. But you do have to keep reminding yourself that this is only a 42-foot boat, and to have a really generous full beam cabin on a boat of this size is very impressive. We've got a TV on a mount. Does that swing out? Nope, I think that's fixed there. Does stick out a little bit, so not quite as neat as it could be. But again, there are some things that you just got to take a view that sometimes a slightly more affordable solution to keep things within reason makes a lot of sense. There's no need to spend a huge amount of money on things like that, provided they work well enough. Okay, so that is it, except for, of course, the engine room. Now, I did show you the access through that galley floor area. The one here in the cockpit is usefully larger. So if we just pop those little latches up, give them a twist. Oh, I haven't quite got that one right. Maybe you need to go further. There we go. Again, there is 2 good gas strut supports there that help take the weight for you. And good to see that there's a decent amount of sound insulation there as well. Now there is a bit of a steep ladder that drops down there, and it's one of these ones where you have to sort of put each foot on at a time. But there we go. Gradually, quite carefully make my way down there. Now, I'm not going to lie, there is not a lot of space in here, even for crouching. You can see that my legs pretty much span the entire width between the engines, but if I crouch down, okay, this is really not that easy. Okay, just about got enough space to crouch down between the engines. Now here are the big D6 440s. They're on V drives. Looks like they're not connected at the moment. You can see the shaft output, but that will come out to a gearbox and reverse back under the boat. And that means that the engines can be sighted further back towards the transom, giving you more space forward. And that's what creates the volume for that full beam cabin. I'm just going to spin around. You can see there is an Onan generator, and that's why there's not a lot of space in front of them for me to fit down there. Right. Whilst I'm here, worth pointing out that this table is on adjustable height struts, and that's so that you can sink the whole thing down, put an infill cushion there, and then you can get an extra sunbed in that space there. Right, let's finish up this tour of the Prestige F4.3 propped up against this new Ocean View Galley. Couple of quick stats. So with those twin 440 horsepower engines, you should get a top speed of about 31 knots. But realistically, most people are going to cruise at kind of 20 to 23 knots. And you have a fuel tank of 1,170 litres. So running at an efficient speed, you should get a decent range out of that. So there we go. That is the F4.3. Thank you very much for watching. Do please let me know what you make of it in the comments. I think it's a really clever transformation of an existing hull, but by putting that new superstructure on and that new design, it feels completely different. So do let me know what you make of it. My name is Hugo Andreae. You've been watching Motorboat and Yachting. Thank you for your time.